Good morning, and thank you for joining today's IPC Certification Portal Hot Topics session. This is Amy Wright, your presenter on the phone today. I'm Director of Online Customer Support. You've probably talked to me or dealt with me some way via email or via our Helpdesk system. Before we get started today, I just have a few things I just want to let you know. One of the questions that we always get asked is a copy of today's presentation going to be made available? Yes, it will be made available. All attendees will receive an email at the close of today's session so that you have a copy of today's presentation. This is I'm the only one who you'll hear speaking today, along with Mike. He'll be also assisting in answering questions. Questions can be answered, questions can be asked by entering them into the chat box. And at the close of my presentation today, we will go through as many questions as we can get to today. So to begin, the topics that we're going to be covering today are going to be around password reset, purchasing exam credits online, setting up your email preferences, updating company profile information, scheduling a class, pricing, and just a tip of just a reminder that the CQI exam credits will expire. So to begin, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the password setup and password reset. Anytime a student is enrolled in a class, they're going to receive, if it's an online class, they're going to receive an email providing them with directions on setting up their password. This should be done before the day the test needs to begin, just in case you run into any hiccups. Anytime an email is changed, the password needs to be reset. And if for any reason the student cannot receive the email using their company email, you should update it to use their personal email. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and jump over so I can show you exactly how the password reset looks. I'm not going to go through as far as changing my email, but just so you can see what it looks like when somebody needs to request their email. If for any reason a student doesn't receive an email, or if they don't want to wait to receive the enrollment email, they've lost it, they can always request to change their password right here at the bottom where it says click here if you don't know your password. All of the IPC websites don't know your password links will take you to the exact same place. And it is here that you're going to enter in your email address. You're going to click to send an email. And then it's going to send you an email with further directions. It's going to give you a link. That link will open up to a page that will allow you to set your password. That password will work immediately. What doesn't work immediately are email changes. Anytime that an email is changed, whether you contact an IPC staff member to do it or you change the email directly in the class, it's going to take at least a half hour for that information to be populated throughout all of our sites. It has to cycle through all of our sites, and at that time your student would be able to update their update their password after their email has been synced throughout all of our sites. The next part of our presentation, that's a pretty quick part. The next part of our presentation is going to be around purchasing exam credits online. This is something that became available this year. By purchasing online, you really cut out the wait time in processing your order. Both IPC members and non-members can purchase online. If you're an IPC member and you're purchasing with a PO, you can also purchase online. So to do so, what you're going to do is, I'm already signed in here, so let me sign out so you can see what the whole process looks like. In order to purchase online, you have to be signed in because only certain people can purchase the exam credits. It's not something that we make available to everybody. If you are a CIT or if you are an MIT, you will be able to purchase immediately. If you are an authorized buyer, so you're not a CIT or an MIT, and you would like to make a purchase, you're going to need to contact IPC by creating a help desk ticket and ask that we add the CQI buyer role to your record. Once that's done, you're going to be able to log in. So I'm doing so here. Go ahead and enter in my email, my password. And that's going to take me to the to my profile page of the online store. I didn't mention it, but the online store's address is shop.ipc.org. That's your quick link. If for any reason you can't remember that or you forget, and let's say you're at our main page and you go to ipc.org, if you click on the online store here, that's another way that it'll bring you to the same place. But if you remember it, shop.ipc.org is the quick way to get to the online store. Once you are in the online store, you're going to click on training. Then the page that comes up is where you're going to purchase your exam credits. Notice that there's only one purchasing option. We used to have 3, we now only have 1. We've decreased the amount of products that we offer because there was a lot of confusion. When you are purchasing exams, you're not purchasing actual number of exams. All you're doing is adding funds to your exam credit balance, but you are not married into a certain exam type. So when we had the online exams available for purchase, people believed that if they purchased online exams, they couldn't use them for online print. That's not the case. All you're doing is adding funds to your exam credit balance, and those funds will be decremented based on what you have scheduled in your class. So when you're entering in the quantity, what you're actually entering is the total dollar amount that you want added to your exam credit balance. You're not entering in 1 for 1 exam. If you were doing an online exam, you would be entering 35. So that I have $35 available to me in my exam credit balance. I'm going to click to add to cart, view cart, and check out. Now, at this point, I'm going to go ahead, verify that the information I have is correct. If it is, and there's nothing else I would like to add to my cart, I'm going to proceed to check out or create a quote. If I need to get approval for this purchase, and I just want to create a quote, if I scroll all the way down here to the bottom, I click create a quote. Just waiting for it to finish turning here. And my quote is here and available. I can download this as a PDF and then print it off so that I can either print it off or save it to my desktop and email it as needed. Otherwise, if I want to continue on with this purchase, I can review and place my order. So if you do have quotes and you're in your account, if you were to come over to the left-hand side and you want to convert that quote to an actual order, if you click on quote, review and place your order, it's then going to ask me for my payment method. If I am an IPC member, I can order on terms with the PO. If I'm not an IPC member, I will be asked to enter in my credit card information. If you are ordering with a PO, even though you can enter in your PO, submit, and your order is going to be finalized. So I'm just going to go ahead and put in here, test Amy, and I'm going to click submit. When you're doing this, verify that your billing information is also correct. If there's anything that's inaccurate about this, you're going to want to go ahead and update your billing information. And it gives you that option to do that here. Click on submit. If everything is okay. If you're doing a credit card, you would have gone through, entered in all your credit card information, and have also clicked on submit. And your order is placed. Now, when you're ordering with a PO, you should still be providing a copy of your PO to customer service. So when you're doing that, you're going to do your PO, but also reference that you've already placed your order online and provide them with the sales order number that you received online. So this order number here, the SO, you want to copy this and provide that number to the customer service department along with the PO document from your company. Once you've done this, the exam credits will be available to you within 24 hours. That's the maximum amount of time. Most exams credits are available within 2 hours of purchase, but sometimes the data takes a while to sync up depending on how much data is syncing that day. So you can see longer than a 2 hour wait time for that. If that is the case, there's nothing that IPC can do to speed up that process. You will just need to wait. The same wait time when you're purchasing also occurs through customer service. So if you were to contact customer service and place your order online, place your order through our customer service department, you're still going to be subject to that same up to 24-hour wait time when that purchase is complete. The benefit to purchasing online is that you don't have to wait. You know, sometimes customer service gets a backlog in orders. When you're ordering online, you don't have to wait for that backlog. So sometimes it could take them up to 24 hours just to get to your order, and then another 24 hours for your order to actually be available after they've completed the processing. So coming directly online will definitely speed up that process for you.
Amy, this is Mike. While you're in this subject, we had someone question, can you order other materials this way?
You can. You can order other materials, but not training materials. We do not yet have other training materials online. We are working on having that available, but it's not something available yet. When we do make the other training materials available online, we will send an email out to let you know. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to purchase any of our standards or any other topics. But as far as training material is concerned, the only thing available for purchase at this time are the exam credits. On the same subject, without returning to my PowerPoint, the next thing that I have on our schedule is going to be about opting in for emails. So while I'm still logged in, right here where it says Welcome Amy, if I were to click on this, I have this drop down of some different options in different places that I can go. If I click on Email Preferences, here is where I would be able to opt in to receive emails regarding certain subject matters. If you do not receive our emails, especially anything related to certification, you're going to want to double check these preferences. So you want to make sure that, yes, you are opted in to receive emails, and then check any of the subject matter down here at the bottom that you would also like to receive additional information about. If you don't want to receive information about everything, as a trainer, as a CIT and MIT or anybody that's part of the training community, you must have this IPC certification checked off. We will be putting in stronger requirements at a later date for all of our CITs and MITs, making sure that they do have this IPC certification checked off. This is the only way that we can communicate with you, just because of where all of our trainers are located and the number of trainers that we have. We send out emails, of course, but you have to be opted in, especially with some of the changes that have been made overseas regarding people opting in and receiving emails. If you are not checked off to receive IPC certification emails, you will not receive our notifications, and that's just because we have to follow the rules so we don't get in trouble for not following those new GDPR guidelines.
Yeah, Amy, we had a couple questions on this. GDPR has been implemented. It's a new rule that has been implemented for emails in Europe, and IPC is following those regulations, and it requires anyone who receives an email from IPC must manage their preferences, which what Amy is talking about, and they can do that through when they receive an email. Someone had just mentioned that they're getting complaints about spam, and if you receive an email from IPC, you can manage your preferences on what you want to receive from IPC. And what it means is that you, as the person who receives the email, you have to make the changes. That is a requirement. That is the rule for the GDPR. IPC cannot make those changes for you. You have to go in and manage your preferences. We do include a link on all our emails that has the ability to manage your preferences. And so if you're getting complaints from people who are saying IPC is spamming me, they need to go in and make those changes. IPC cannot make changes for you. That is the rule, the regulation. So if you do happen to get people complaining about receiving spam, indicate to them that in those emails they have a way to connect with IPC and change their change and manage their preferences of what types of emails they want to receive, which includes receiving nothing from IPC. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you. Some additional information that is not necessarily on the agenda, but since we're here on this page, I thought I'd show it to you. That's going to be, number one is around billing. If ever you need to retrieve your transaction history or print a statement or get a history of your invoices, if I click on billing while under my account, I can see anything that I have open, so that means it's yet to be paid. Or if I come here to paid in full, I can come here and where I can click on it and then print that invoice so that I can show it to anybody who I need to, maybe for reimbursement. Additionally, on this list, coming back to settings, this is where I was when I did my email preferences. Here you can see your profile information. This is how you look in the IPC database. Under your address book, you see the addresses that you are registered with. The address book brings us to our next point in updating our address. Let's say you change your company information. This is not where you want to change your address information. Our PowerPoint is going to tell us that anytime we have an employment change, we need to create a Helpdesk ticket so that an IPC staff member can update your information. If you work for a company and your company has merged with another company, been bought out by another company, or your company has moved, you're also going to need to create a Helpdesk ticket. Updating the address here is not a permanent way of changing the address. If you were to change your address here, and place an order, you risk your order being delayed because the address is incorrect and it's going to need validation. Your materials can still be shipped to the wrong location. Or if you're ordering training exams, the exam credits, those funds will not be made available to you. So it's really important that you do not change your address here and that you create a Helpdesk ticket to change your address. If you are a member of IPC and your company information has changed, you're going to email membership@ipc.org. This information is available in our PowerPoint that each of you will receive at the close of today's webinar. If you want to update your password, so you're already logged in, you want to update your password, you would be able to do so here as well. So you click on update your password, enter your current password, and then enter in your new password. So all of this information is available through the IPC online store. I'm touching on it today, though it's not necessarily in my department, but because we have the training exams available here, and then some of this just kind of goes along with it, I wanted to be able to show you guys that today. Next on our presentation, so we've already gone through the password reset. We've gone through online purchasing. And again, this is going to be provided to you later today. We've talked about setting up our email preferences, updating our company information. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to walk through the process of scheduling a class. So to schedule a class as a CIT, MIT, or a CQI program administrator scheduling for somebody else within my company, I can do that by going to the certification portal. So I type in certification.ipc.org. Always pay attention to the information here at the banner. This is where we're going to let you know of any outages, or if we are aware that there's an issue, we're also going to let you know of those issues that are here. Excuse me, let you know of any issues We will update this banner message up here at the top with any information that we have regarding any issues or outages or anything that may be occurring. When you're at the certification portal, you're going to go ahead and you're going to click login, and you're going to enter in your login credentials. As I wait for that to open, one thing I also want to point out, if you are an instructor and you have students who are going to need to be enrolled and you know that they have not had an IPC certification before or any interaction with IPC, you can direct them to click on this new student registration right here at the top, and that's going to give them a link where they can provide us with all of their information. And then when it comes time to you enrolling the students, all you'll need to do is have their email address so that you can enroll them. Once your page has opened, you're going to click on View Edit Classes. Because I'm a IPC website admin, when I click View Edit Classes, I'm opening up everybody's classes. So it does take mine a little bit longer to load. Once you get to your class list, you're going to click Enter New Class. Then you're going to go ahead and select all of the, enter in the information in all of the fields. So if you're a CQI program administrator, you will have the privileges to schedule a class for anybody else at your site. Enter in my course name. Any languages that are available will always be available. You'll always see them down here in the drop down. If the language is not available in the drop down, then it's not something that we have translated yet. Let's say that I wanted to do, let me see, I'm going to do Czech just so I can show you. So if I were to do Czech and I wanted to do 610G, it's not available to me yet. So we don't have a translation for that revision in Czech yet. So this would be my only options for scheduling. When it does become available, you'll see that option made available here in this drop down. Otherwise, because I do want English, go ahead and select the current revision. I want all modules in this case. If I don't want all modules, I can click this again. It will deselect. If I'm doing an optional module only class, which means that my students have already completed their module 1 certification and that class has been submitted to IPC, I do have the option to select the optional modules only, and I will not be charged additionally for selecting these optional modules. You only get charged the one time for module 1. Optional modules are included in that cost and can be added on at any point during their 2-year certification. Report entry is not something that we're going to, that we use. We only use online exams and online print. For the purpose of today's class, I'm going to go ahead and do online print. Online exams, when you do schedule it, the scheduling is the exact same. The only difference is how the students access the test. My start date and end date are reflective of the day that I want the exams to be available. For online print, even though let's say my class isn't starting until the 21st, because I want to be able to print the exams today, I'm going to select today's date. Okay, I don't need to do anything with the billing model. And I think this is actually grayed out for everybody. My billing category is initial. The only time I ever select retest is if my students have failed the exam. So they failed a test twice. And if they failed that test twice, then I would have to schedule them in a different class for a retest at a total of $10 per test. So this includes the optional module. So if my student passes module 1, but fails module 2 twice, I'm going to have to schedule them in a different class with retest selected, and will be $10 for that test. If they were to fail 2 and 3, it's going to be $10 per test. So that student would be charged $20 total for that retake. My exam credit balance is always selected from the oldest from the oldest to the newest. I don't apparently have any funds because I'm not located at my test account. Bear with me one second. Let me here. I'm just going to change my login. And I'm gonna log in with somebody else so I can show you this full process. I do apologize for this. Go to classes. I'm just going to go through and do this all over again. Just as a note, since I do have JStandard selected, notice that when I clicked for all modules, it selected all of the modules for me. If I myself am not a space instructor, so I have not attended the J001G space certification, I need to deselect Module 6. Module 6 is for space addendum. So if you are not a space instructor, you don't have the materials or the knowledge to be able to teach the space addendum. So you'll want to make sure that you don't have that option selected. I do have the option, so I have to select my invoices from oldest to newest. My oldest invoice only has $5 available, so I do still have to select it and add that exam credit. But I have the option still to select more than one invoice and add that to my class. Once that's done, if I have any comments that are general to the class, I can enter that information here. Otherwise, I click on Add to save my class detail information. My information is saved, and now I can enroll students. Now, just as a reminder, the easiest way to enroll students is to have your students provide their information themselves using this new student registration link. They should only use this link. They should not use the registration link from our main page, our main IPC page, the www.ipc.org. But if they, once you're done and you're ready to enroll students, click down here at the bottom where it says Enroll Student. Enter in the email address of the student you would like to enroll, and you'll receive a message that your student has been successfully added to your class. This is one way to enroll your student. Another option is to do a name lookup. So if I wanted to look up Angela Sennett, so I can put her in my class, I do the last name, the first name, I click on search. And then if I click on her name here, I can add her to my class. Now the final option, another option that I have, so if this was not the Angela that I was looking for, or if my search didn't return any results, I also have the option to add a new student. And I'm provided with a form. Now this is the same form that your students receive when they click on this new student registration. But putting in all of the information here, so I can put in delete. One thing about this that I like the most is that if you select a company that is already in the IPC database, so if I were to do test account, then select the appropriate test account from here, it's going to provide me with the address. If I select this, my student is automatically added to that account in the IPC database. If I manually put this information in, that student is not automatically connected to that account, and it has to wait for an IPC staff member to attach that student to that account, which delays the how long it will take for you to see that student under your stats or your reports. So by coming in here, and I can do this with any company, if I wanted to do this with let's say Flextronics, or let's do, that was fine. But if I want to do this with maybe a Lockheed, and I were to come down and select Lockheed Martin Fire, well, that's a typo, right? But if I were to come in here and select Lockheed Martin, Then I get a list of all of the addresses. Well, not in this case, 'cause that's a bad address. Sorry. And I get all of the different addresses available for my company that match that company name. So that is always an option for you. But it is specific. So whichever address you select, that's the address that your student will be added to. And your student has that same option too, to be able to select the company that they're added to. Then I'll enter in my email address. All students must have an email address that is unique, and it must be a working email. I click on add and my student information is saved. If this were an online class, every time I click on add and I receive that message that my student was successfully added to my class, my student is receiving an email providing them with information, one, that they've been logged in, and two, that they need to update their password in the event that they don't know it or have forgotten it. If I return to my class details, here I can see all of my students that I have added to my class. Clicking on edit. So let's say that let's say my delete demo is not receiving emails at this point. At this email, this is their company email, and they can't receive the emails here. If I click on edit, I can change that student's email address. And this way they can retrieve their password, they would be able to retrieve their password once this email is changed and synced in through our database. Just note that when we do update our testing site, which is going to be coming later in third quarter, instructors will not be able to edit their emails, but students will be able to provide us with more than one email, so that if they were to run into this issue, they have an alternate email on file already. If I'm doing the online online print at this point, everything looks good here. I click on download test. I can do it here, or I can download student by student. If I come up to the top, I can download module by module. In this case, I just want to download all of my tests, so I'm going to go ahead and click download test. It'll provide me with the download. At this point, I would print it. I would remove the answers from the file that I received. When I print it, I'm going to remove the answers. I would provide the test to my students, grade the test, and then I'd be able to come in here and enter in their grades. So clicking on the plus sign, clicking edit next to each module, enter in the grade by putting in the total number of questions that they've answered correctly, and then click on save. If it's a workmanship course, such as we have for module 2, I would also have to indicate whether or not they passed or failed the workmanship component. If this were an online exam, my students would come up here. I click up here at the top and click take an online exam. I, as the instructor, would first have to sign in. I'd select the class that I'm allowing to sign in, and then my students will be able to sign in, and then click on the modules to take their test as they are told to. Once all of that has been completed, so if I come in here and go ahead and click on edit, oops, save. And if I refresh my student grid right here, so for online print, if I refresh my student grid after I've entered in the scores, here I see that the certificate number gets updated. For online print, if this is it and I'm done at this point, I can go ahead and download my certificates and provide them to my students. If you're doing an online exam, the grades will come back automatically, and you'll also be presented with this download certificate option. They'll then be able to submit to IPC as long as it is not, as long as the end date is not in the future. And that would end the portion that we have on scheduling the online exams. Just a few more things that I wanted to discuss with you, and that is for when it comes to, excuse me, this field is, this slide is mistitled, but this is actually discussing the new pricing that we're going to have. Nope, sorry, this one is right. For here, so the new testing and training platform, I just wanted to give a reminder. I don't have anything to show on this. We will be releasing our new testing platform. It's going to be available later third quarter. Right now, we don't have an exact date available, but keep an eye out on your email because when it does become available and when we do expect it to go live, that date will be announced in there. Before it does go live, we will be doing webinars, so that you have a chance to preview the site so that you're not going in there and trying to figure everything out on your own. We'll provide you with demos so that you know how to schedule classes and schedule the exams. And then just as a note, as a reminder, the cost of the exams will be increasing. So the cost of the increase is listed here on exactly what those charges are going to look like. That's just a reminder that this is coming up. Beta testing, if you are interested in beta testing, you would be able to reach out to Chris Roberson, send him an email if you are interested in doing any of the beta testing for our new testing platform, and he will be able to provide you with information on how you can participate in that as well. As a reminder, certification exam credits expire 1 year from the date of purchase. Those funds must be used in entirety or else you will lose them, and the classes must be submitted. If you're not sure how much you have available or exactly what your expiration date is, if you come over here, so if I'm on the home screen, come back to the home screen and I'm going to click on my exam credit balance. If I click on exam credit balance, it's going to tell me exactly what my expiration date is for that invoice. This is just like opening up the view edit classes. When I open up exam credit balance, it loads all of those credits. You should not be seeing delays like this. I'm not sure, but we did work to improve our speeds. That's why we stopped instant communication with our database. That was delaying our speeds a lot. So we don't have instant communication with our database, which is a benefit to you as well, because sometimes our database goes through updates. But if you have used the site, if you've ever been signed into the certification portal, even if our database is going through an update, you will still have access to CQI, where before we would also have to shut you off of that database or shut you off because of the database update. Now, the only time that performance is impaired is when sometimes it's going to be slower during the database update. But if we are updating our website, that's the only time, if you've had access to the site before, the only time you're not going to be allowed access to the site is when the portal itself is under construction. Coming back over here though, if you come in your exam credit balance, it will show you the expiration date of when your exams will expire. Turning back to my home screen, going back to our PowerPoint presentation. If you need additional help, this tells you exactly where you can get that additional help. Again, this presentation will be shared with everybody so that you can keep this on file somewhere. At this point, we'll go ahead and move to any questions that we may have. Mike?
Okay, Amy, one of the questions we have, how do you update the approved CIT/buyers for an account with exam credits?
You would submit a Helpdesk ticket. So CITs, MITs, you automatically have access to purchase for the company that you are linked to in our database. If your company information changes, you need to let us know by creating a Helpdesk ticket. If you are somebody who's not a CIT or MIT and you are a buyer or you're the person responsible for that credit card at your company, you would provide us with your information. We need information such as the name, the email address, their role, and that you want them added as a buyer for the exact, provide us with their company and address. And we'll update their information in our database so that they can have access to purchase online as well.
Thank you. Another question on exam credits. So what is the difference between an exam credit number that starts with CS-XXX versus invoice-XXX?
Nothing. It's just the way that our system credits them. So usually, and this is probably too much information, but it's mainly a back end in the way our system processes it. Invoice usually means that it was done through our customer service department or via a PO. CS is just usually what they call a cash sale, and it usually indicates that it was made with a credit card. But in terms of spending, there is absolutely no difference. The exam credits are the same, but it's also why part of the reason why we started using the term exam credit balance instead of invoice, so there wouldn't be any confusion between INV dash or CS dash. So it's just exam credits, and hopefully that simplifies everything.
Thank you, Amy. Another question. This one is a question concerning Edge 2.0. Will the setup class procedure be the same when you move over to Edge 2.0, or will it change?
The procedure is going to be a lot like what you see today. I wanted to be able to show you that, but there are some things that we do still have to, that we are still changing. But you are still going to go through the same process. So you're still going to come to view edit classes. You are not going to select your modules. So you'll automatically be, your students will automatically be put in all modules. But everything else, as far as selecting the invoices, all of that is going to be the same. The differences for student enrollment are going to change drastically. That's where you're going to see the least amount of time that you're going to have to spend. Your students will become more responsible for their information. So it's a good idea to start putting them in the habit of that now. That's why I want to stress this new student registration link. But when they come in here, and I'm just going to return to that class that I was working on earlier. Some of the differences when it comes to entering in the student information, you're going to enroll them by email or name only. That's all you're going to have to provide us. So if they're already in our system, provide us with their email or look them up by name. If they're not already in our system and you're adding them, you're going to provide us with their name and their email address. And when they get to the test site, they're going to update us or provide us with the rest of their information.
Thank you, Amy. I'll take this question. Is there a scheduled launch date for the requirements for CISs to also take IPC Essentials / Policies and Procedures?
No, that date could be released with, oh, sorry, Mike, you did say you were going to take that.
Yeah, we had tentatively planned for Q2. This has been delayed slightly. The reason for the delay is we're testing out the system. And whenever we encounter a problem with the system, we're getting it fixed. Our intent is to launch this as soon as possible, but we will give you plenty of time with announcements, with email announcements. I believe that we're also going to try and do a press release to the certification audience of IPC to let you know when that launch date is. Again, we are testing the system out, and we want to make sure that it is flawless as possible. We don't want to encounter issues as we have in the past. So as we go through our testing, we are trying to fix problems, and it obviously has delayed our estimated time for launch, but we will be sending out announcement on the scheduled launch date. And it doesn't mean that we'll send out an announcement and the launch date will be 2 days later. We will give you plenty of time of when we are going to launch the new product. So hopefully that answers your question, but we do not have a scheduled launch date yet. We are working through some issues to make sure that when we do launch it, it will work properly. Did you want to add anything to that, Amy?
Well, just as an example, and this is just really an FYI, One of the things that we've been working on in the past couple weeks, especially for anybody who's been with the certification portal since we launched, you know that a lot of the expiration dates that were coming in earlier on were not taking into account the extensions and things of that nature. So one of the big projects that we've been working on in the past couple weeks is going through and kind of scrubbing that data. We're cleaning that data, going back, looking at their previous expiration dates, and making sure that the expiration dates are falling in line with the policies. So right now it's a lot of data cleaning as well as development. And then once this is complete, so what we're doing is we're cleaning our data. We're going to go through alpha testing. So that's going to be internal testing. Once that internal testing has been given the all clear, it's going to be open to beta testing. Once the beta testing is given the all clear, once we start getting into the beta testing phase, we're going to have a better idea of when we'll be able to make that announcement. But until we can at least complete the alpha testing, and where we don't need to add additional development, we will not be able to provide an exact date, since it all depends on how long it will take to develop or fix anything that we encounter.
Thank you. Next question, is Space Module training materials available for revision G?
It is.
Yes.
It is. We'd be able to contact our customer service department to make that purchase.
The next question, should we put comments from student evaluation forms in the comments section for that student?
It's not a requirement, but you can. What we do ask for in the comments section, one of the things that we have been collecting there is any changes to that student's information. So if a student has changed their company, that's usually what I've suggested that people use that comment section for, because we'll go through later and review that. But because students are now going to be able to update their profile information, that comment section, yes, can be used for those evaluation comments. And I do want to start getting people into the habit of just having your students create a help desk ticket when their information needs to be updated, since when the new testing platform becomes available, that's going to be the only way that information can be updated is through the new testing platform or through a help desk ticket. So I want everybody, if you can start trying to get into that habit now, that would be a good thing, but no worries if you don't.
How do I add a company address to the database?
If the student is new, so if you're adding a new student, you're going to go through and do it with that new student's information. If you are if you're an employee at that company, and let's say you're switching companies, you're going to need to submit a help desk ticket so that we can update that information, and we'll let you know once that's complete. It does take us up to 48 business hours to respond to help desk tickets. Normally it's going to be within the same day, but it really depends on staff availability. As well as what else is going on with the tickets or with our sites.
We had a person here who said they had tried to edit the email address, but it had not worked. Are we still having issues with that?
Sometimes if you enter in an email address, and that email address is already in use, it's not going to allow you to change it. It should be giving you a message, but I do believe that the problem is more that the message is not coming up saying that email is duplicated when you're editing in this portion. There was another issue where adding students without an email, it was also telling them that email was duplicated when in fact it was just missing. That's a whole nother thing. But if you're adding it here, you click on edit, and you change it, you save it, but it doesn't keep that change, it's because that email is already in use elsewhere and you need to create a help desk ticket so that we can resolve that issue for you. Let me make a comment when it comes to help desk tickets. It's going to save a whole lot of time and a whole lot of back and forth if you provide us with as much information as you can as possible. So when you're having an issue with the student, it's great to provide us with the student's name. If you click on the student name and you go into their class detail screen, you're also going to get their ID number. If you can provide us with us, that would be great. If not, it's not a requirement, but their name and email is essential. When if it's an enrollment issue or you're having problems with this particular class, sometimes we're going to ask you to provide us with your class URL. Usually when I say that, people will come to me and say, what is a URL? All right, that's nothing but the address here in the address bar. What's really useful when you're having a problem with the class and you need to create a help desk ticket, if you provide us with this information up front, I'm trying to schedule a class and you copy this information up here at the top, so your class has to be open. You copy this and then paste that in your help desk ticket. That's going to save us a whole lot of time and prevent a lot of back and forth. It saves us a lot of guesswork. So copy this information, give us your class dates, as well as exact student information so that we can assist you more efficiently.
Next question, can you speak to how using different languages works? If I only speak English, but I have students who are more comfortable testing in their language, would that work? I've never tried it, but I would like some details, please.
I do see some challenges in that. Now, I do know that there have been some instructors who have done that. You can just select a language. So if this were online print and I had selected Spanish, for example, and only one of my students needed it, I would have all of my students in one class for English and schedule a different class for that Spanish student. The problem that you're going to have is if that student gets the answer wrong and you are not clear in that, or you're not proficient in that language, trying to explain that to them is going to be complicated. In addition to the test being translated, they're also going to need to have the standard translated so that they can be able to, it's an open book test, so that they can be able to find the answers easier. So it's not something that I would suggest if you're not also proficient in that language, but it is not against the policies.
For the new testing platform, will training centers be able to put their logo on the student certificates?
To my knowledge, no. I don't believe so. But if you can, for a definitive answer on that, please send me an email. My email address is amywright@ipc.org, and I will get you that answer before the close of business today. Amy Wright, spelled WRIGHT, @ipc.org.
Amy, I'm not sure if you covered this, but there's a question in here that says price for the online print options. Did you cover that during the presentation?
Price for online print is $50 per student. If it's an optional module only, you're not going to, just like the online exams, when you're paying the $35 or the $50, it's for the certificate, which is tied to the mandatory test. In most cases, that's module 1. If it's a CIT, it's the open and closed book. But when you're talking at the CIS level, you're paying for that first the first certificate, which is tied to the mandatory test. Optional modules are included. Online print is $50 per student, and that will go up to $100 per student when the new testing platform becomes available. We've got 5 minutes for questions, so if we don't get to them all, we will answer you separately via email at the close of this session.
Correct. Is this CQI format active now or to come? I'm not sure what that question really means, but
what I'm showing you now is what is active right now. As far as the pricing and everything that we've been talking to come at a later date, we haven't seen the demo on that. That will come, third quarter demos, probably shortly before, sometime before release. But you'll be able to see what that new version looks like. CQI, the certification portal, we don't really want to say CQI because that has a different meaning. But the certification portal will look a lot like it does now, with just some variances in how you're going to how you go about scheduling and registering students.
Okay, let me see. Okay, you answered the question. Thank you. Can funds be shared between 2 trainers at the same company?
At the same address. If you are at the same address, the funds are available to everybody who is at that address. If you are at different addresses, no, it cannot be changed. It cannot be shared.
Another question was raised, is online print going to be removed or will we be left with only online?
Online print, for now it's going to be here. in the new testing platform, it will be available. The structure is going to be a little bit different. You'll still go through scheduling the same, but how you get the exams is going to be different, and that will be demoed at a later date.
Next question, when recertifying, sometimes the month is wrong in the portal. Is the help desk ticket the only way to fix this?
Yes. And again, this is something that we're going through and cleaning up right now. A lot of that data is wrong because, back in 2015, especially, the extensions were not being taken into account for CITs. We've never taken into account extensions for CIS, but all of that with the new policies that came out in June, we're updating CIS expiration so that it goes into effect for those. Any certification that was completed June 1 of 2017 or later is going to follow the expiration date policy based on the policies that were released last year. So if the certification was completed within 6 months, up to 6 months after the expiration date, or up to 3 months before the expiration date, the new expiration date is going to be 2 years from the 2 years greater than the previous expiration date. The problem is that a lot of the certifications that occurred before then are subject to the old rules, and we're going through and scrubbing that data as we speak and cleaning up a lot of that information in those expiration dates. So if you do happen to see that your expiration date has changed, it's because we updated it based on your previous expirations that are in our database and taken into account whether or not an extension was applied. If you would like us to change it before we get to that, you can create a help desk ticket. If that date does not fall in line with those with the business rules that we have in place, prior to June 1 of last year, it will automatically be updated based on our rules, depending on when you ask us to make that change.
Amy, it looks like our time is up, so I would like thank everyone for attending today. And if you did not hear your question asked during the session, we will be replying to all of those. We are able to capture all of those through our sessions, and we will be able to reply to them. Amy?
Thank you, everybody, for attending. Again, keep an eye out on your emails for more updates. And we will, I'll be updating this PowerPoint presentation for your information, and you'll receive an email later today or tomorrow with today's PowerPoint.
Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.